Every success story has a happy ending, especially in Hollywood. Many shining stars start from humble beginnings with amazing stories of going from rags to riches, but they can lose their way due to addiction, mental health issues, or bad money choices. Some well-known celebrities have surprisingly ended up homeless. While some manage to rebuild their lives, others face tragic outcomes. Watch until the end to discover which celebrities lost everything. Margot Kidder, who played Lois Lane in the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, was once a Hollywood star. She was well known and had relationships with famous people like actor Richard Pryor and Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau. So it surprised many when she was found homeless, struggling with schizophrenia and depression. She often slept in cardboard boxes in backyards in Los Angeles, and many people saw her looking unkempt, with missing front teeth. In 1996, during a manic episode, she cut her hair and became homeless. Her family and the police found her living in a box behind some bushes in Glendale, California. While on the streets, she asked people for cigarettes, and some helped her by paying for a night at a motel. Later, she was taken to a private psychiatric clinic for treatment. After that, she became an advocate for mental health support and said, "We are all a breath away from mental illness." Many people look down on homelessness. Erin Murren became well known when she was just 14 for her role as Joni Cunningham on Happy Days. However, later in life, she faced many struggles, becoming broke and homeless after mismanaging her money. Reports say she lost all her wealth and had to foreclose on her California home in 2010. Following that, she and her husband lived with his elderly mother in a trailer in Indiana, but the situation didn't last long. One night, she came home after drinking and got into a fight with her mother-in-law, who then kicked her out of their trailer in Indiana. This led her to almost separate from her husband, and she ended up moving from motel to motel without a home. After being kicked out, she was seen looking unwell near an inn, and sadly, she later died from a heroin overdose while still homeless and broke. Another troubled child actress was Dana Plato, who starred in the show Different Strokes. After the show ended, she faced homelessness and sadly died from a drug overdose. Plato was only 14 when she became famous on the popular sitcom, but she was already using drugs at that time. After the show finished, her life got difficult, and she was involved in various scandals while battling drug and alcohol problems. She had legal troubles, including forging a prescription in 1992 and robbing a video store the year before. Eventually, she went to jail. In 1999, Plato was living in motels in Oklahoma and was homeless. She said she was clean and sober, but a few weeks later she died from a drug overdose, which was later ruled as suicide. The day before her death, she appeared on The Howard Stern Show, where she admitted to being an alcoholic and a drug addict. She claimed to be sober, but many callers insulted and questioned her, which might have affected her state of mind. She had a successful modeling career, especially as a fitness model, and gained fame by appearing in magazines. She reached the height of her career when she married Jeremy Jackson, a star from Baywatch. However, her struggles with drug addiction and mental health led to her becoming homeless in Venice Beach. She often blamed her problems on her ex-husband. Jackson spoke about having a very abusive relationship, stating that he once tried to strangle her. She also mentioned that she can't live in any place because she feels unsafe around electricity. She claims to have been shocked almost every day for a year. She believes she can sense electricity in other materials, like chemicals and different types of metals, which might affect her body. It's unclear whether her experiences are true or not. Simply an excuse for the meth addiction that sent her on a downward spiral. MC Hammer. MC Hammer was a hip-hop star who went from 3 Grammy Awards to being homeless. The rapper dominated the 90s with his catchy hip-hop and dance songs and trademarks like Parachute, parts dance moves like the typewriter, and saying, "Hammer time." He was everywhere, even in the cartoon series Hammer Man. As the money kept coming, MC Hammer kept spending with a $400,000 mansion, which he spent $30 million on renovating, 17 cars, 2 helicopters, a jet. After racing horses, His music popularity declined, leading to financial losses. Despite this, he kept his big house and luxury items and employed over 200 people. Eventually, he had to sell everything and ended up with $3 million in debt and over $800,000 owed in taxes. He eventually turned his life around by moving to a smaller house, organizing concerts, and being careful with his money. Jan Michael Vincent went from being a popular actor to being homeless because of his addiction and violent behavior. He was famous for his role in the popular TV show Airwolf because of his good looks and fit body. However, his fame didn't last long. He struggled with alcoholism and drug use for much of his life. In 1977, 1978, and 1999, he was arrested for having cocaine. He also faced arrests for fights in bars in 1984 and 1985, as well as for serious charges like drunk driving and assault. Vincent had several car accidents, some caused by his drinking and driving. He broke many bones, and eventually his right leg was amputated. He used a prosthetic leg or a wheelchair to move around. Because of substance abuse and health problems, he became homeless. Later, he lived alone in rural Mississippi and North Carolina before passing away at the age of 74. Leif Garrett was a famous teen idol, but he struggled with drug addiction and ended up homeless. He started using drugs when he was 14 and crashed his mom's Porsche just before turning 18. While trying to buy cocaine, he was caught with a blood alcohol level 3 times over the legal limit, leaving his friend unable to walk. This was just one of his many struggles with hard drugs and alcohol. In 2001, Garrett declared personal bankruptcy, owning only his clothes, some household items, and $350 in cash. His only income was $1,000 a month from his mother, and he didn't even have a home. The former teen idol had been to jail multiple times for drug use and had also gone to rehab. The situation of a famous homeless person became known when Sharon Osbourne mentioned that Leif G is living under a bridge and is waiting for Justin Bieber. Mindy McCready, a well-known country music star, faced tough times after her fame faded. She lost everything and sadly took her own life at 37. Mindy, who was a mother of 2, went to rehab for her addiction problems. Her boyfriend was found dead from a gunshot wound to the head, and she passed away a month later. She died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. It appears that the news that her children would go live with her distant mother drove her to this tragic decision. When the police arrived, they were shocked to find that she had also shot her dog before taking her own life. Throughout her life, she struggled with addiction, mental illness, and personal problems, which led to the breakdown of her family. Similarly, former child star David Cassidy struggled with addiction to alcohol and drugs. He ended up homeless after a surprising turn of events. His personal life was always complicated due to several marriages, children from different relationships, and issues with addiction. He became well known for his struggles after being arrested for drunk driving in 2010. He faced more drunk driving arrests in 2013 and 2014, showing that this former teen idol was dealing with serious drug and alcohol problems. He openly admitted to being an alcoholic. By the end of his show, he was homeless, and he had been arrested multiple times over the years for buying narcotics and picking up prostitutes, and he had a very chaotic personal life over the years. Sugar Ray Williams falling from a height is limited to actors, musicians, and sports stars. One of these is Sugar Williams, who was once an NBA superstar, but was found sleeping out of his Buick in 2010 for over a decade. Williams was the captain of the New York Knicks and played for the Boston Celtics' 1,985 NBA Finals team. By 2010, it was reported that he had been sleeping out of his Buick in Pompano Beach, Florida. He later revealed in an interview, a former NBA player expressed that the league doesn't support its retired players well enough. He mentioned that while players are expected to be loyal to their teams, the league doesn't show loyalty or care for former players who are struggling. He pointed out that many current players earn huge salaries, while he has had to file for bankruptcy and has struggled to keep jobs after retiring. He clarified that his issues aren't due to alcohol problems, drug or gambling addiction, but he seemed just to have bad luck. Eventually, he passed away in 2013 due to colon cancer. Bobby Driscoll won an Academy Award for his role in The Window in 1950. The famous child actor might have been under the spotlight, but it wasn't until recently he became addicted to drugs and was sentenced to prison for drug use after being released from prison. He was still struggling with drug addiction and low funds. While he appeared in a few shows, there was nothing prominent. He eventually passed. After struggling with addiction, a former Disney star ended up without money or a home. He mentioned in a past interview that he felt lost and did not have a place to live, with only some clothes at his parents' house. His marriage had taken a toll on his well-being, and he was trying to recover. Tragically, 2 children discovered his body in an abandoned building in Manhattan's East Village, where it is believed he had been living. He was later buried in a grave without a marker. In 1968, a man on an island in New York City died, but his death wasn't reported until 1971 when journalists were looking into him. Iran Barkley, a well-known boxer, was once worth $5 million. However, by 2010, he became homeless. The New York Post reported that he was sleeping in subway cars and at the Howard Johnson in the 1980S and 1990S. Barkley made about $5 million from boxing, but lost everything because of careless spending and bad financial choices. Due to poor management, he lost all his money and ended up unemployed and broke. He started living in motels and on the streets. His niece initially helped him, letting him stay at a public housing development in the Bronx called Patterson Houses. When she could no longer help him, he slept in subway cars before finding shelter at a Howard Johnson hotel. Later, he got support from a Bronx nonprofit called Bronx Works and a boxing charity called Ring 10. He also found a place to live and began teaching boxing skills to young people, helping him get back on his feet. Natasha Lyonne was a popular actress in Hollywood during the 1990s, known for her roles in But I'm a Cheerleader, Slums of Beverly Hills, and American Pie. However, her career took a downward turn due to legal problems. She faced struggles with addiction and became homeless after losing her apartment. In 2001, she was arrested for driving under the influence, DUI, and was kicked out of her apartment. By 2005, she was admitted to Beth Israel Hospital for help. Treated for methadone addiction, heart infection, hepatitis C, and a collapsed since then. She has pulled her life together. She starred in the Netflix show Orange is the New Black and produced Russian Doll based on her experiences. She also starred in Poker Face, the detective procedural. Danny Bonachild had struggled with alcohol and drug addictions from a young age and eventually became homeless as an adult. He starred in The Partridge Family, which made him a household name, but eventually he went in and out of rehab, while she stepped back from the public eye due to personal struggles that affected her earlier success. Sadly, on July 3, 2015, just days before her 44th birthday, Peterson died from an accidental drug overdose. Fans and others in the industry were heartbroken by the loss of her ability and potential.